Amazon seems to have a fee for everything. They have inbound placement fees, they have fees for low inventory, they have fees for too much inventory, they have fees for long-term storage, FBA fees, everything in between, every aspect of selling on Amazon, there's another fee. So, Amazon likes their money. We know that. Jeff Bezos just got himself another new jet. You see new boats pop up all the time. Amazon constantly wants to get more and more money from the seller, and they find all sorts of creative ways making sure you can't really get around it. One of the most interesting ones in my mind is that they may even add some restrictions around certain products if you try and get away from a certain fee, even if you have to pay another fee to get around that fee. What exactly am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about specifically long-term storage fees on Amazon. So for those that don't know, long-term storage fees are essentially when you have inventory going over in FBA facilities for a year. And Amazon at that point is going to consider that to be long-term storage. So if you have long-term storage, Amazon is then going to start charging you this aged inventory surcharge or a long-term storage fee. So this long-term storage fee is something that Amazon only does for, excess, extremely old inventory, typically older than a month. Amazon likes you to have 60 and 90 days worth of inventory at any given time. So if you're, having inventory that sits for a long time, say in 12 months worth, or even, longer in some cases, if your product doesn't sell through, they want to get their money for it. Amazon operates their warehouses in a very distinct fashion where they want to churn through inventory very quickly because every seller has a certain amount of square footage that they are allotted to actually put their product in. So let's say that you try and get around this fee. How would you go about doing that? Well, the easiest way would be to essentially have your inventory pulled out via removal order, which again, you have to pay for a removal order to Amazon for them to actually take the product out and send it back to you. So you'd want to do that typically right before you're going to get hit with these, long-term storage fees. But Amazon already thought of that, unfortunately, because of course Amazon is going to get their money one way or another. It does not matter that you have already paid for a removal fee, so they are getting their money in one way. Amazon wants that long-term storage fee real bad. So what exactly do they do when you do this? Well, they do this. Amazon essentially makes it so you cannot send the product in. So they don't want you to be able to send that product into FBA for around 60 and 90 days minimum until you actually either one, pay the fee, which typically they don't even let you do after you remove the product, or two, you just gotta sit there. And essentially, you're gonna be an FBM seller for a little while, and that's the price to pay in Amazon's eyes, and not be an FBA seller, at least for the ASIN that you removed, if you end up trying to circumvent their fees. So Amazon loves their money. We all know this. Amazon really wants essentially to make sure you're not trying to circumvent the system in any way, shape, or form, which is interesting because they introduced things like AWD, which essentially is the full circumvention. If you really wanted to circumvent long-term storage in some capacity or anything like that, you should send your product to AWD first. Of course, that's going to cost you some more money and have its own fees. And then if you want to circumvent the inbound placement, you send it to AWD as well. And it all goes into FBA. So this to me is one of those things where I typically am going to see, some sellers who are newer not understand and get this kind of error code and not really know what happened. But the reality is, unfortunately, if you're trying to even just have a removal order of some old inventory because you don't know if you're going to sell it on FBA anymore, and then you try to 90 days later and it gives you this, it can be a little annoying. So fortunately, there's not a ton you can do in this situation if you are hit with this. What I would advise anyone who is facing long-term storage fees is go a proper route. Do a removal order, but then still sell it via FBM for a little while because you don't want to have to be paying for those storage fees regardless, right? Or secondarily, if you have some product that's just stagnant, stale, try and do a relaunch of that product. Try and make sure that that product can sell. Do a, sale slash price 50% off. Anything to be able to move the product and just try and get through a lot of that stagnant inventory. And that's really the best way to go about it, not removing it and then trying to send it right back into FBA for Amazon to deal with.